So Sheree, do you want to tell us about your experience in the last while about that workshop?
Sure. Hi everyone. Part of my practice is the Little Red Art Shed, which is recently, I was studio based, and then at Christmas time I closed my studio and decided to go mobile again out of the back of my little red van. And obviously the changes that have happened in our world has, like for everyone, tipped everything upside down, and the online platform has intrigued me as a platform to be able to explore and to be able to use to stay connected with the families that I've been working with. So similar to Kelly, in the fact that it's very much an early days exploration and the content isn't the important part. It was about how do we keep the connectivity, how do I help support the mums and the young children in their homes at this time, how can I still offer to nurture the creativity and the curiosity with the children and the families, and maintain that relationship that we have started through the work that I've done with them. So 2 of the families that I've worked with over the last year have joined with me in an open exploration into how we can connect online and offer the opportunities to the kids. So for me, the really important aspect and the priority, I think, for the aim of offering this is around the interactiveness. How can we offer and build and create something around maintaining that interactiveness? So that's why Zoom, to start with, was a platform that I felt could work, because we did a little survey with the families where we looked at YouTube and Facebook Live, and they were very static, and that it's like a wall. And it was really interesting listening to Julie talking about the pods and the virtual screen in the middle, and that really resonated with me. And sorry, I'm losing myself in this, but basically what we did was I created a structure. I don't know if you can see those there, Simon.
I'm just going to say, I've got them sharing screen. Can anybody see them on my screen? Oh, you can. Okay, I can't see it. Okay, so I'll just flick through them if that's...
Yeah, that'd be great. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't realise. So you can see the images of... Yeah, you can.
I think the images can actually speak for themselves. Speaking like this, I get a bit nervous and I lose myself. So if I just speak to the images, and I would love to just share that with you. So what we've done is I've been in the backyard, my backyard, via Zoom, connecting with families. We've had physical interactions in the fact that I created a small structure, a little mobile cardboard structure, that was out of a washing machine box, fridge box, packed up a little kit for the 2 families and dropped it off to their front doors. So they're like little mini versions of the Little Red Art Shed. If you've not seen it before, it's a fold-out structure just like that, but this is how the shed started, actually, at a playgroup in a fold-out box. So I've had it set up in the backyard or on my back doorstep, a smaller version of it where I'm interacting with the kids and they're going into their own little structures and I'm in mine, and the parents are there and we're trying to engage and connect. So these are the the kits that I dropped off. So they had a bucket and a smock and an apron and our usual cleanup with the little red art shed. It's always the cleanup bucket, which is always be a bigger point of fascination for the kids than anything at the end of it. Our spray bottles we use all the time, a little water kit, and we started with water soluble oil pastels, which could offer not too much horrific mess for parents to start with. So we used the oil pastels and then added water, and that sort of freed it up for some play. So this is Florence in her backyard. Her dad's a builder. He added on those beautiful little rope handles on the door. He's already adapted it to be more usable. So it's great, always ideas. So yeah, it was just about interacting and playing, and I think we've got some images there where I've done some screenshots of the interaction between the cameras and the mums. And so I've been using 2 cameras, so I've been testing out using the iPod. We've got little Henry who's in a front pack most of the time, so it's about mobility.
You didn't want the chooks out?
No,
They're rooting. They're laying eggs in the garden.
Where have you found them?
Yeah, they're outside the door, like freaking out. Scratching.
I know, that's scratching.
They're being weird. They're rolling around in circles.
Yeah, but that's because they've got fleas and.
Yeah, so we've had this toing and froing where I've been a little delivery van, dropping little things off at their front doors, giving them paper. Next week we're collecting leaves, so there's a little note in there with the paper saying, how about we collect some leaves and we'll come back together. We did a nature framed in the backyard with natural objects. We've done 3 sessions so far. We call them art play dates. And at the moment we've got 3 children. Well, Henry's only about 3 months old, but we've got Florence and Arthur, who are both 2, and they've been coming to the shed for over a year now. So for me, this is us reviewing afterwards, having a chat about it. Yeah, sorry, this probably feels a bit disjointed, but yeah, so we were in the rain last week, out in the backyard, creating, there's a little bit of the technology, just trying to work out. 2 cameras works really well because it gives an overall picture, and also having that handheld version with me, I can actually move around and show. That was a photo taken by Florence's mum, and she sent that back to us. Yeah, so this is it's just play. It's about playing with how to connect, how to create interactiveness.
I think, Sheree, it's also that building that relationship. These are parents that you've worked with and people you've worked with. Just those little thank yous and invites and everything, I think, just really framed the whole work really well.
It's just been a really lovely interaction of a little delivery. The kids have loved the delivery. Then we've seen each other on the screen. I've tried to keep a regular weekly contact with them. We didn't do a session this week, but we did a same time, same place check-in and had a chat, and the kids are recognizing me and getting used to me on the screen and being comfortable with that. And I think, yeah, without comfort there can't be anything else, and the kids are starting to respond. It was really interesting. The first session, they were just completely oblivious to the technology, apart from saying hello. But the last session, there is starting to be that interaction where they're actually, Florence is even wanting to run away with the camera and take it off and do her own thing. Yeah, that's kind of...
I thought we had some video here, actually. I'm sure we had some video. Yeah. Yeah.
I can see it now. Yeah. What color is this one? Ready? Yeah. Sweetheart. What's that? You know that one? Look. Try and get it to. Hey, can you find the same colour? Green, 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 green. I've got a different green. Green too. I've got another green. Can you test it out on your paper? Green, green, green.
Beck, do you want to come in and on this conversation?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, sorry, I missed the start of your discussion. And
We were there and sort of sat in on it, didn't we? The whole thing.
we did, yeah. So I think the first, I witnessed the first two of them. And I found, yeah, just Flossie's engagement over those two were really interesting. The second time, she came out a whole lot more and was, yeah, much more engaged in it. I thought she was very engaged the first time, but it was different the second time, and it was a one-on-one. Yeah, those moments. I think, yeah, those moments where the connection happens, and that is really important. And I think the gifting of the shed is a really beautiful thing, and interesting in terms of what we just heard from Julie in terms of that having the physical presence and the physical contact as well as the online.
I know one of the other things, Sheree, you spoke about yesterday was just the monetizing of this kind of experience too. That can be a whole another conversation or a bit now, but how does that work? How do we think about charging people to do this? How do artists make a living if they're doing it in this way? So that's another whole question here. Sheree, do you want to comment on that? I mean,
it's not my strength, this area of financial monetizing of projects. So I would love to hear what everyone else has got, what their thoughts are around that. I'm really not sure.
So at the moment, are you charging for it, or is it experimental? So you said yesterday that, yeah, what's your situation at the moment? Where are you at with it?
Well, I am very thankful that I applied for one of the grants to receive. I got $2,500 from the business grants, the emergency grant, which is helping me spend the time to do this. And in previous ways of working with the shed, when I was in the studio, I would run bookings through Try Booking, which is a really good platform for booking, not only for free events but for paid events there. I guess, yeah, I think for me the priority has been is building that different relationship, and it's such a bizarre thing to not be able to reach out and touch an arm, or I don't know, it's just really obviously different, and I want to embrace that, and I just would love the kids to benefit in this time. So but yeah, when it comes down to, yeah, in this time also, how do we charge? Like, that doesn't kind of feel right to me. Is it funding? Do we? Yeah, I don't know. And yeah, I would love to.
My question would also be, how are you marketing this so that potential participants, potential families can know what's the application? How do you select people that you work with? Because this is an incredibly beautiful idea, whether or not it's even now in coronavirus times even more poignant, but at any time, what a beautiful gift to the community that you're creating. And I really encourage you to look at reciprocal relationship in regards to those people that can afford to contribute, that you look at monetary, getting some income associated with it so it's more sustainable, but also getting a broader way of making sure that you've got access to people. I really love Choir Australia has a model of payment scale based upon, it's a selection, so you've got 5 different tiers, and the basic tier is that my income only supports my basic needs, and you have, say, like a $15 charge, and then it goes right up to this is the current value of it. And then it goes for one extra tier, which actually goes, and that medium scale may be $75. And then there's another tier above that that goes, I want to contribute to the creation of a society that includes the good work that you're doing. And that might be $105. So you're actually getting people are being their own authority based upon their capacity to pay. But it also gives you the value. It also ensures those people that don't have the capacity, they're not missing out on things. Yeah, that might be something to consider. It's a pretty, I'll try and find the model and send it through to the resources.
I think it's, you know, I mean, for me, I think it's a really fabulous way of working. I mean, so different to what Kelly was talking about, but I love that, the fact that we aren't just delivering, what interests me about this is that it is a broader package. I mean, Alex, you're with us, which is really nice to have you here. It reminds me of your work, there's a real kind of physical element and trying to bring things together, put it up.
It's beautiful. Yeah, it's beautiful. And I think, you know, I'm just really struck by the developing relationships with the children, that it's a way of being and their evolving payment structure. What strikes me is that it sounds like it needs to be like you get a term's worth or something. So you're kind of paying for 10 sessions, which includes the shed, and potentially you could bring the cost down a little bit. I've also seen models of pay what you feel, and or recommended fees, or buy somebody, like if you buy one, can you buy one for somebody else who can't afford it? Is another method. And also, I guess, sorry,
I was saying I love that one. Share the experience with grandpa there. That's, sorry, Alex, go on.
Exactly. And I think that's another thing, is to market it as a family experience, not just a child's experience. Like, it's obviously for both. And I think people are more willing to pay just the child. I think there's real potential in this, and I'm sure there's definitely parents who would want this for their children and happy to pay a lot for it in this climate, for sure.
I mean, this taken the whole emphasis away from the screen, hasn't it, to the practicality. Ainsley, I mentioned earlier around, the SAC work, where any artist, this really relates very well, I think, into the START program, do you not?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've been trying to think of ways that I think it's really nice to get trying to think of the materials kids have at home to begin with, and kind of sending them on a bit of a treasure hunt to see what they bring to the table as well. and sharing that with each other. Sheree, it's beautiful, your project. It's so nice. And I'm all for mail art and, you know, keeping Australia Post going as well if it gets to that stage. And kind of sharing old ways of making and through technology as well, I think is what I'm reverting back to or revisiting. But in terms of start, I think the fact that kids or families could pay for a series of sessions and invest in that and invest in your practice as well is really important. And it's something they can look forward to and continue that connection with. And the tiers and the options of payment, I think, is a really nice thing to put into play. And I know a lot of people having all sorts of challenges at the moment, but for them to this as an arts practitioner and educator is also really important. And there's so many other things that are free online, and yours is next level. Yeah. I don't know if people heard my ramble then.
Sorry,
Oh,
I
there you
didn't
go.
want to actually play. I thought I'd muted my mic, so I couldn't. Sorry, Ainsley.
That's all right.
Can I just say, I really like what Alex was saying about if you make it a family experience, there's other people in that family would be willing to pay. Like my daughter is at home at the moment with her grandson. They both, her and her partner own a cafe. They've had to close that. The wait to get the job keeper is still not even here yet. So they've had to be without money for over 4 weeks. As a grandma, I'm doing fine financially at the moment, and I'd be, if I knew there was something like that, I'd be more than willing to just pay the odd session. I wouldn't necessarily be able to commit to it all the time, but I'm always looking for little things that I can do for her just to help. She never wants to take money off me. She'll be like, yes, we've got shopping, yes, we've got that, but I'm always looking for just little things I can do to make her life easier, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
So
a practical gift for someone.
Even a gift voucher, Sheree. Like if you had a digital gift voucher, I'd go online and buy something like that. The other option is just as well as to what you're doing with the try booking is Patreon. I don't know if that would work for you. Patreon gets people to just be your patrons and give you little donations.
I'll have a look. Thank you, Karen. Patreon.
It's a online, like there's various artists have used it. I've never used it. It either really works for you or it doesn't. And that's where people just become your art patron. And it might be for as little as $5 a month, or it might be more depending on who they are. And that means it can be anyone in the community. And they just say, I'm going to give you, and it's a regular commitment. So you make a financial commitment and people, and that's just a separate platform, separate to what your other things are doing.
Yeah, okay.
You know, what your parents are doing.
The good thing about Patreon is it has platforms of engagement, so you can people can invest different amounts of money. For example, you know, $15 a month. It's taken on a monthly basis and it's US dollars, but they could, you know, there's different tiers. So if it's $15, you know, they'll get access to a certain level of things, or if it's $50, then it's a whole other level of what they can engage with and resources and offerings and stuff that you can provide.
I think at the moment we're seeing this work that Sheree's doing as because the ArTELIER projects have kind of not physically happening, we're going to support Sheree to keep doing this and exploring it. And in partnership with Ainsley down at SAC there, we're going to try and explore that as being the way for this to happen through an organisation that I mean, the issue is building that personal relationship with the people, but I think, Ainsley, there's the list, isn't there, of everybody who has
There is.
been. So they would have met some of the artists. So if you have already presented at the SAC workshops, I think it'd be really great to just put your hand up to do an exploration of something online.
Yeah, definitely.
And we can pay to do that, explore that idea. One of the things Sheree talked about, I think somebody mentioned it this morning, was the idea of having 3 or 4 artists in the space that you're inviting kids into a kind of, I think Julie mentioned it, you know, maybe 3 or 4 artists. We're all there doing something with a cardboard box, you know, and then we invite them in to do something with a cardboard box too. So it's less us and you and more just all of us making something together. So that might be something you might, as artists, want to collaborate with each other to think about delivering.
Just on that, Simon, I've just my observations so far between, and Beck and I had an interesting chat about this, where the juggle for me as an artist facilitator in that platform is around being part of that play myself, but also having one eye on observing and being mindful of what's actually happening as well. It's really, really different to, being that hands-on spontaneity and just, you know, that full focus. It's kind of, it's more like this, like, here's what I'm doing to join in and be interactive, but I'm also trying to observe and letting the child lead that as well, and observing that process,
Alex, jump in.
unraveling for them.
How do you think you would go having more children? Like, what sort of capacity, or how much is it the one-on-one interaction with them both, or do they see each other? Do they interact?
Yeah, it's been interesting. The first session I did with the families, it was 2 families together. The second one I did, it was just the one family, and Beck observed both of those. Beck, did you want to chat a bit about that, about how you observed the differences?
Yeah, I felt like with the one-on-one, I felt like it was a bit more successful because of that obvious, because there's maybe that's not perhaps not more successful. That's not probably the right word, but with the 2 children together, they did have moments of seeing each other, which was, we talked about how you boost that togetherness and how you make them more aware of each other. And because it was a new platform to them, they weren't, and an experiment, it wasn't part of the focus, but it was one of those points that we identified that it would be great to get that cross communication going. And also with the 2, you could have one kid who was, you know, Flossie went around the back of the Carby house for ages and she was exploring around there. And then your communication with Henry was more. So I think the 2 worked really well, but the one-on-one with Floss was particularly, one-on-one is always just amazing, isn't it? But for that depth you can get to, but then the group, they have different qualities. So I think they both worked really well. What I was sorry, I've probably skipped off the point a little bit, but I wanted to also talk about the packaging as a family experience and whether this comes into that. But I was thinking, for me as a viewer, and I was thinking about, Karen, what you were saying about gifting it to your grandchild, was that as a viewer and just observing that session for you as a working colleague, Sheree, I got so much from just seeing those kids, and it was such a joy to watch that. And I was thinking, I wonder, you could have a grandparent, when you package it for a family, you could have a grandparent that you share the Zoom link to, so that they could sit with their screen off and be able to observe their grandchild, or, you know, and you can have that from somebody who's on the other side of the world in this climate now too, and with this capacity. And so that struck me as one of those strong benefits of using this platform.